Grand evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. It is 20 hours and 20 minutes in the evening, Central Daylight Time. And we have quite a few new things to talk about. I got several dogs barking out the window. That's one of them. And then we have then we have other news to talk about related to war, disease, nuclear, all of that and more here tonight. Every dog in the nearby is barking at the moment. We're going to start with the news right around here, right here at the bottom from Terror Alarm and President Trump. President Trump has informed Israel that the delay on the attack on Iran is for just 2 to 3 days. So that was about 2 days ago. So at any moment, right now, the attack on Iran could happen. I expect it to be later tonight or sometime this weekend. Those are the most likely times for that to happen. And then we have this here from the Insider paper. One moment before I continue. Okay, thank you for standing by. There's a lot of dogs near where I am. A lot of dogs nearby. They were all barking. So we have this here from the CDC and Insider paper. They confirmed an American citizen has tested positive for Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So that is an American citizen that has tested positive for Ebola. So we could possibly see Ebola on top of the hantavirus here in the US, which it's been somewhat quiet when it comes to the hantavirus news recently. It may have died out. We don't exactly know much of what's going on with that right now. It's more quiet than it was. That we have an Ebola concern now, which is even worse than that. And then we have President Trump himself saying that he's concerned about the Ebola outbreak in Africa. And I'm sure especially now that an American citizen has tested positive for Ebola. Now on to some of the news to do with the war. World War III. I think we are approaching week 14. I'll have to look. NATO is reportedly considering a deployment to the Strait of Hormuz if it's not open by July. So the rest of NATO, that says NATO is considering a deployment to the Strait of Hormuz if it's not open by July. So massive intensification and escalation of the war, it looks like in July. NATO is willing to do that. Okay. Then we have this interesting energy news before we talk more about the nuclear news. The US government may be covering up Zero Point Energy, said Representative Tim Burchett. So that's very useful. Very good thing to know. And the fact that he says that they may be covering up, it's almost a definite that that is happening. I would say it is a definite. Free energy is very much so covered up by governments of the world because there's no profit in it. There's no profit for companies and businesses when it comes to free energy, if that is what it's talking about, Zero Point Energy. Then we have this here. Russia has announced 3-day nuclear drills. So they're going to be doing more nuclear drills and nuclear testing. A lot of that now. The US just tested, I haven't seen the results or looked into it much, though the US just did something with a Minuteman III nuclear capable missile. Well, Minuteman IIIs might be entirely nuclear missiles. And that was it might have even been an unscheduled test when it comes to the Minuteman III. And then President Putin went to China within the last 2 days. And President Putin recently said relations with China have reached an unprecedented level. Also, the Chinese even trained at least 200 Russians that went back to fight in Ukraine. So they are working very closely together. They are very close allies and military allies. And now China is further training Russian soldiers. And many of them are going back to Ukraine to fight when it comes to the war over there. It's all part of the same war, World War III. And then we have this here. President Xi, the Chinese president, dictator really, he warned Russia's Putin, he warned the Russian president Putin that the world risks sliding into a law of the jungle. And then I think he even called out President Trump, saying that it's his foreign policy that is causing such a thing, a law of the jungle, as he put it. So that's what's happening with that. And then the Iran chief negotiator Ghalibaf says the U.S. seeks to start a new war. So that's not exactly starting a new war. It's more like resuming more of the direct military actions. And then we still have that Ohio-class submarine heading over there to the Middle East with nuclear-capable missiles, especially the Trident missiles on it. Potentially nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles. That's not as likely, though there could be some kind of nuclear warheads on that submarine that's heading over there to the Middle East. It's very likely that is a nuclear-armed U.S. doomsday sub that is heading over there to the Middle East. And then some of the most concerning news is that there are, I think, several P-8 Poseidon sub-hunters straight east of I think it's northern Melbourne, Florida, where that is in Florida. And there could be a Russian submarine sitting right there on the east coast of Florida, right off the east coast of Florida. There are many military planes and lots of activity going on over there. So we could see the Russians maybe try to do something with a submarine, maybe missile attacks on military bases and critical infrastructure in Florida and other parts of the East Coast. And we could almost certainly expect Cuba will do a lot of drone and missile attacks on Florida. Maybe not as much missile attacks. I'm not sure of their missile capability. There's even the potential Cuba has a nuclear weapon right there in Cuba. It's very likely after all of this time, many years, and the Russians have always been close to Cuba. I think they even have a docking, some kind of base in Cuba that they stay at often. So the Russians may get fully involved when it comes to the war with Cuba. Some reason, not some reason, for strategic reasons and maybe trade, Russia may get fully involved in the war when it comes to Cuba. Again, all part of the same war, World War III. And we are heading into week 13, Saturday evening, Saturday night, maybe even technically Sunday, the very early morning hours. It's around 2, 3 a.m. It'll be week 13 of the total kinetic phase of World War III. And it is spreading, it is escalating, it is intensifying rapidly. And we could see attacks on Florida in the coming weeks. That might even be too far out. In the coming days, we could see drone attacks on Florida. So very concerning. That's going to wake up a lot of people that of what is really going on, and that the U.S. is not untouchable, and all it takes is a nearby country like Cuba to attack parts of the U.S. And all it takes is a Russian submarine to fire missiles and potentially nuclear weapons all along the East Coast. That's all they could do, anything with just about with the Russian submarine. They could cause massive damage. They could take out the power grid with one Russian submarine. So very concerning, very intense time it is now. This is one of the most concerning and intense Wednesdays yet in this war. Let me see if I have some further news. Let's see. So, Iran has been launching drones at the UAE, and they just shot down another 3 recently. Actually, this one wasn't the UAE, it was Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has shot down 3 drones from Iraqi airspace. So Iran has been Iran has been launching drones at Saudi Arabia and the UAE during this whole potential, this ceasefire, as they call it, which it's not much of a ceasefire. It's more of a quiet time of preparation and logistics of the war. So there have been more drone attacks in the Middle East in recent days, especially on the UAE and now Saudi Arabia. They've attempted to strike Saudi Arabia as well. Very concerning when it comes to the nuclear threat right now. We could be at DEFCON 1 now. I would say it's just about there. The DEFCON levels are classified and only the Pentagon knows, and maybe even parts of the Pentagon, though it could be at DEFCON 1 now. Things are extremely intense, and there's a very large and high possibility of nuclear war right now. We also have the price of oil still slightly rising. It is still over $100 a barrel. At many gas stations here in Texas, it is over $4 per gallon, and that's here in Texas, which is insane. And the price of gas continues to rise. And I expect the price of gas to reach $10 by the end of this year, especially as more escalation and intensification happens with the war. We also have shortages of lubricants and oil, motor oil that's used. So that's running out even before, not even before, all of the while there's gas shortages that are happening all throughout the world. So we have the oil and the lubricants, they are now having a shortage. At the same time, the gasoline is also having a shortage. And shortages will continue to happen and increase in this country as well when it comes to the both of those, which would lead to more food shortages. Then we could have a potential famine soon, as there's a fertilizer shortage for the farmers, and that's very concerning to the farmers, they've said. So that's very likely to cause a famine on top of this war and disease we have happening now. That's what war, especially a war like this, tends to bring: disease, especially famine. That's always been a historical thing when it comes to war. And as in Fallout, yeah, war never changes. The ways it happens do, the war itself never changes. So keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I always recommend physical assets such as gold, silver, land, storable foods, freeze dried foods, ammunition, and more like that. Even some medicines, like medications, those are going to be very important for a lot of people. Some people can't live a day without medication, which is interesting that people heavily rely on it like that. There are holistic solutions to everything. Don't get stuck in big pharma. There's all natural solutions for everything that like that. and medically and health-wise overall. Also, please like and comment on this video. This is initially a live stream recording, and it will be posted to here on my X and my YouTube channel. As always, I will be back soon with further updates. Potentially tomorrow night, definitely Friday. Also, as always, love, light, and blessings to you all.